my friends, I am the Dungeon Tutor. Welcome. Today we're answering number 29 of RPGaDay for 2023. The question for the uplifting of everybody out there is, quite simply, what's your most memorable encounter? And these are going to be great stories to go through other RPGaDay publishers or producers and see what they have, because everyone's going to be unique on this one. My most memorable encounter, though, is the dragon encounter. Not a dragon encounter, it is the dragon encounter. Because this was memorable even in a time period that I hate in role-playing games, which is late campaign Dungeons and Dragons. As Dungeons and Dragons goes along and goes up levels, it gets cumbersome and clunky and just a pain. But you can tell some good stories with it, which I did for the dragon encounter. So, the encounter was end of the game. We were into the epic levels in 3rd edition Dungeons & Dragons. The characters were, I think, on average 24th level. They were the destined heroes of destiny, and they needed to gather an artifact, which was in the lair of an ancient red dragon. And they knew this. They knew that this dragon was an ancient. They knew that it was red. They knew it was in the caldera of a volcano. Very much the themes of Mount Doom and everything, the whole thing. But they're really high-level characters, right? So they knew what they were doing. They have gobs of hit points. They have weapons by now that scare almost anything. They have artifact weapons themselves. They have super armor. They are set. They have access to ridiculously powerful magic. So, of course, when they went in, they were fully protected from fire. They were fully protected from anything the dragon could throw. And they had backups just in case those first ones failed. There's that nice one where you could take 12 points of damage per level of the element of your choice was very popular. Because they knew that dragon was going to have a hard time getting through that in a round or two. And by that time, their Alpha Strike was going to nail the dragon, and they were just going to just roll it. Bear in mind, ancient dragons back then had 500 or more hit points. This one had 650 hit points. So even though their Alpha Strike was absolutely ridiculous, it had a good armor class, it had magic, but I finally uncorked the full range of what I was going to allow a dragon to do. This dragon was going to defend itself as an ancient red dragon should. This was no encounter along the way. It was in its home, it was very mindful of its own defense, and it was going to do everything it could to beat the heroes. So, heroes went in, fully loaded. All their buffs were up. They were set. Go through caves to go into the actual volcano. A few encounters, but nothing serious. They didn't end up diminished at all. I think they started using their expendable magical items they'd hoarded through the entire campaign. They really were perfectly fine by the time they got to the dragon's entrance. And they got in, and huge room. The center of the caldera was hardened lava, solid floor. There was walkways going up to it, easily enough, wide enough for the dragon to walk up if he needed to, and then lava on either side. This wasn't far down lava, it was just lava right there. It was incredibly hot. If the characters had not been protected, there was enough heat in there to be cooking them alive. But they were all protected, so they're fine. There was the dragon. Just the dragon in the middle of the caldera. No artifact, no treasure. There's the dragon. Well, they didn't care about the law. They would find the treasure later, so they're fine. They'll do what they got to do, right? So they Alpha Striked. They pounced on the dragon. The dragon bantered with him, I think, at first. It was like, oh, so you're here? I'm assuming you want what I'm guarding. You're not getting it. You're going to have to kill me to get it. There's no other way around it. This has been predestined from the beginning. And they're like, yeah, okay, well, it was a nice chat. They attacked. Threw on their Alpha Strike. The dragon was an illusion. Vanished. They're like, what the heck? Stupid dragon. I don't know why they didn't use True Seeing or something off the... It's the first thing I would do if I'm facing a dragon, but they didn't. So, they The dragon was actually up on top of the wall. It was clinging to the wall. No, it was actually on a perch overhead, because they didn't look up. They looked at the dragon. And it pounced right on top of the cleric. Oh yeah, it identified who was who with that initial strike. It had studied them up to that point. So it knew enough about the group and what they wanted to do that it immediately belly splashed the cleric, which hurt, yeah, not significant. Matter of fact, it could have taken much more damage if it had decided to go in and, really try to hurt it. But he pinned the cleric underneath his massive bulk. The cleric was pinned and being suffocated underneath this dragon. But the others knew what they were going to do. They turned around and they laid into that dragon. The barbarian raged and roar. The arcane archer was archering very well. The wizard wizarded. The psionic scioned. They just turned around and unleashed. And being a very high-level group, the dragon's hit points got whittled down quickly. Very quickly. Even though the cleric could do nothing, he kept trying to get out, but he couldn't. He wasn't really made to escape. So without any healing, the players were taking some damage. The dragon actually had a nasty little item that transformed his fire breath into, I believe it was acid. Same cone type and everything, but he was hitting them with elements they weren't prepared for. And even though it wasn't as much damage as the fire would, he knew what they had. He knew their protections. So he hit them with acid. And badly injured several of them. The breath weapon of an ancient red dragon is nothing to sneeze at, even at high levels. And even though they were making saving throws, they were hurting. But eventually, they did so much, they did, I believe, 2/3 of the dragon's health. So that's over 400 hit points. Without having their cleric pitching in. The dragon's like, nope, not going to die today. Walked and just kind of slithered into the lava pool. I dove into it, actually. Whoosh. And they're all like, oh, crap. Wow, his splash actually did some fire damage, which we didn't feel. Lovely. The cleric's like, all right, I'm going to start throwing heals down. 3rd edition heal cured all damage that a person had. So that was insignificant. However, 2 rounds later was enough time for the dragon to swim under the lava, use his Ring of Spell Storing heal on himself, swim back and sploosh, land right on top of the cleric again. 2 rounds later, he had enough time to heal 2 people. Sploosh. And now this dragon is covered in molten lava. So not only is he down, his absorb elements spell is... His elemental protection spell is getting decayed quickly from the heat of the dragon and the lava that it's covered in. And now the dragon has lava-based attacks, so he's also chipping away at what everybody else's protections were. Enough that it was worth his while to use his natural breath weapon at least once and cook somebody and knock their protections off. Now they're also burning, so they didn't like this. By this point, other characters were starting to heal rather than fight the dragon, which meant the dragon was kind of winning in a way. But again, you had a raging barbarian, rawr, coming after the dragon. The dragon's like, again, knocked another 400 hit points off. And the dragon's like, you are persistent. Fine. Sploosh, jumped into the lava again. So the players are like, he left? Yeah. You got your attacks of opportunity as he left, don't worry. Okay, everybody heal up. This could happen again. Sure enough, the dragon goes under, and he had framed on the wall a scroll that he could understand of heal. So he looked up, read it, whoosh, heal, sploosh, sploosh, right on top of the heroes again. Fully healed, lava's back on. Several of the characters used elemental protection again, so those protections were refreshed. They were no longer at alpha strike potential, but they were still able to defend themselves. And after the 3rd time, the dragon had to stay and fight. He had to defend the artifact with his life, and it did. Eventually, the party was able to kill it. Again, they had artifact weapons, and they themselves were really tough. It wasn't because of great strategy. It was a brutal slugging match. The dragon did everything it could to kill them. It was out of its breath. It was kind of caught. So finally, it didn't have infinite resources, so they eventually did kill it. But that fight took the entire night. It was in multiple stages. The players were scared for their lives, which was great. They should be against a red dragon. They felt a challenge of a creature that was played intelligently, that kept that cleric away from the rest of the group for most of the fight. So they were on an island of sorts, which they had never been before. So it was really good. I do remember that encounter fondly. My players still shudder when they think about red dragons because they know I know how to play a red dragon intelligently. And most dragons, honestly. So yeah, it was fun. I loved it. I never want to do it again. Those combats are brutal. But for the capstone of a campaign, and that wasn't even the big bad evil guy, by the way. That just let them fight the big bad evil guy. That fight was actually more anticlimactic because that red dragon fight was great. But that was my memorable encounter, and I hope you enjoyed it. I'll throw in a bonus for you, too. This is something I caution people when they're like, I need a way for my players to get together for the first time. Instead of the old you meet in a tavern or, hand wave it. Like, you've all known each other for all of your lives. I need something new. And my favorite one I tell people, because I like to make people laugh, it's this. And this is your first encounter with a group. You wake up. You wish you hadn't. Your head is pounding like 50 dwarves are standing around you taking turns whacking your skull with a mallet. Your stomach kind of lurches a little bit. There was a party last night, a really amazing party, and you can't remember all of the details. All you know is, interesting. Without opening your eyes, you can kind of feel, and you feel you're in a bed. You can feel blankets on top of you and sheets beneath you, but you're naked. You have no clothes on. You can feel it all against your skin. You're warm. And for the moment, nothing bad's going on. So you open your eyes, and yes, the ceiling is spinning. You're in a fairly decent-sized room. You're on a bed. And then you look to your side, and you see that character. And you turn your head, and you look, and you see that character. You all see each other. You are all naked in bed, and you are all wondering how you got here in the first place. You look around, and the room is just a whirlwind of clothes that have been thrown all over the place. And you're left wondering exactly what happened last night. Okay, roleplay starts now. It's a great icebreaker. At any rate, thank you very much for joining. And that's usually when somebody starts sputtering, but my character doesn't drink! You did last night. You don't remember much after that. Fun times. But yes, that is my story, and you're welcome to it. Thank you for joining me. I am the Dungeon Tutor, and I hope you enjoyed this, because I think it's a funny story. If you're one of my former players that was in that scenario, I'm not going to say I'm sorry, because you enjoyed it too. Admit it. Even the player of that cleric still kind of enjoyed it. He still remembers it and keeps remarking about it to me to this day, so it's stuck in his head pretty well. But if you want to see more fun stuff, please like and subscribe. Notify yourself when I make new videos. There will be more coming, even after this RPGaDay stuff. So, if you come to see me again, and I certainly hope that you do, thank you for joining me for this one, and I hope in the space of time between then and now, you get a chance to roll some dice, play some games, have some fun. Stay safe out there, my friends. Until that next time, farewell.